Hello, everyone. It's me, Ari Dosset. You can call me Rashid. Thanks for being here. I'm an anthropologist and sociologist. And today I want to talk about an historical topic that's also relevant for today. And going to talk about the Moors and why worldwide there is this suppression when it comes to knowledge about the Moors in our history. Now, what are the Moors? Now, the term Moor was at some time used by Europeans to describe anyone that was a Muslim. It was a generic term, but in reality, the political term for the Moors were people from the Northwest Africa that dominated Spain and Portugal for over 700 years. And somehow in 1492, when the Crown of Castile conquered the Emirate of Granada, suddenly they all disappeared from human history. No, they didn't. So, all right. Let us and I'm going to share some screens with you here. So I'm at my desk. But before I do that, everyone that's here, can you hear me clearly? Let me know the live if you can hear me clearly, please. Thank you very much. That's important for me to know if you can hear me clearly. Let me put this over here. All right. I'm going to share the screen soon. Oh, let me see. Anyway, I'm going to wait for 1 more minute, then I'm going to start sharing the screen. If you're here, let me know, please. Let me know if you can hear me clearly too. Thank you very much. Hold on. If you're watching replay, you can just play further ahead because you're not fits in this live. Okay, Dion, thanks for letting me know you can hear me clearly. That's good. Okay, let me present the screen. Okay. I want you to let me know if you can see the screen I'm sharing right now. And I'm going to make this bigger. Can you all see the screen? Let me know, please. It's quite important. Can you see the screen? Let me know. It's during the day now, so I don't need to lower my voice, thank God. But okay, you can see the screen. So let's read. The Moors Sundry Act of 1790. Okay, let's read. The Moors Sundry Act of 1790 was a 1790 adversary resolution passed by the South Carolina House of Representatives, clarifying the status of free subjects of the Sultan of Morocco, Muhammad bin Abdullah. The resolution offered the opinion that free citizens of Morocco were not subject to the laws governing blacks and slaves. What? Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's look at this for a moment. Okay, let me make this bigger. This was the political situation of the Western Hemisphere in 1790. As you can see, all the blue is Spain. It's a Spanish Empire. Remember, Spain as one country did not exist until 1833. Before 1833, you had two political unions, the Castile and Leon and Aragon. Aragon was Catalonia, that operate together as this unity called Spain. So Spain was a political collaboration of tiny countries. Some of those countries were in Europe, others were across the ocean. Okay? For example, Chile, Nueva Granada, today called Colombia. Central America was Central America was the Kingdom of Guatemala. They were all parts of this union that that was called Spain. Kingdom of Spain and the Indies was the term used for the Spanish Empire, or just Kingdom of Spain, but it wasn't one kingdom. It was various countries in this union. The Portuguese Empire, however, was one king. Well, there were two kingdoms: Kingdom of Portugal, Kingdom of the Algarves, together from this extension over here, and also in Africa. But look at the Western Hemisphere over here. Morocco was all the way over here. 1790, United States was already independent. So this over here was the United States back then. This very small portion over here. And the population was quite low. Hold on. Okay, let me make this big. So you mean to tell me that in South Carolina, that's around over here, there was a political issue going on that had to distinguish blacks and enslaved black people from the citizens of Morocco? Okay, one thing you need to understand. A lot of the Moroccans you see around in the media are of Arab ancestry. That's why they're light-skinned also. But it doesn't mean that all Moroccans are light-skinned people. You also have black Moroccans, if you call it that way. So a lot of them even are darker than me. You have a lot of dark-skinned Moroccans. And in the past, they were more visible. But recently, when you think about Moroccan, you often see those light skin mixed with Arabs. This is what you see. But it does, so when you go back in history, that means that there were black Moroccans, or just Moroccans, who are similar to the Negroes and the enslaved blacks in the United States to such an extent that they had to distinguish the two. Let's go back. Let's read this. On the January the 20th, 1790, a petition was presented to the South Carolina House of Representatives from a group of 4 individuals who were subjects of the Moroccan Emperor and residents of the states. They decided if they happened to commit any fault amenable to brought to justice, that as subjects to a prince allied with the United States through the Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship. I hope you ever heard of this. The treaty was signed in 1786. They would be tried as citizens instead of under the Negro Act of 1740. So there were 4 people, 4 Moroccans, who did not want to be subjected to the Negro Act of 1740. But hey, if they were light-skinned Arabs, then this wouldn't even be an issue. Okay, so let's refer to the 3 Moors, Francis, Daniel, and Hammond, and Samuel petitioned on behalf of themselves and their wives Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clarinda. They explained how some years ago, while fighting in defense of their country, they and their wives were captured and made prisoners of war by an African king. After this, a certain Captain Clark had them delivered to him, promising that they would be redeemed by the Moroccan ambassador residing in England and returned to their country. Instead, he transported them to South Carolina and sold them for slaves. Since then, by the greatest industry, they purchased freedom from their respective masters. They request that as free-born subjects of a prince in alliance with the United States, they should not be considered subjects to a state law, then in force, known as the Negro Law. If they be found guilty of any crime of misdemeanor, they would receive a fair trial by a lawful jury. The matter was referred to as a Committee Considering of Justice. John Fauchereau Gimke, General Charles Cotterworth Pinckney, and Edward Rutledge. Now, let's read further. Edward Rutledge reported from the committee on the petition on the same day, and House agreed to the report, which read as follows. They have considered the same and are of opinion that no law of this state can, in its construction or operation, apply to them, and that persons who were subjects to the Emperor of Morocco, being free in this state, are not triable by the law for the better ordering and governing of Negroes and other slaves. Because the report was not forwarded to the state senate for concurrence, it did not have the force of law, but served as an advisory opinion offering the sense of the House. The report was later published in the Charleston City Gazette and the Charleston State Gazette of South Carolina. Okay. Now, let's go to this. Now, I'm not going to read all of it, but it comes down to the following. The Sultan of Morocco, which they called an emperor in South Carolina, the Sultan of Morocco was the first one to recognize the independence of the United States. So Morocco was the first nation to recognize the United States as an independent nation. And this was in 1777. 1776, you had the Declaration of Independence, right? A year later, Mohammed III recognized the United States. And later, it led to a friendship treaty. So it is also the longest unbroken diplomatic relationship in US history. So the United States, throughout its existence, kept this alliance with Morocco in place, no matter what. But let me tell you why I'm mentioning this. It's called the Morse Sundry Act. Why called the Moroccan Sundry Act? Why Morse? Because the Moors were similar to the blacks and slaves in their perspective. That's why. In their perception, I mean. And as I mentioned before, the Moors were a term for the Northwest Africans that governed big portion of Spain and Portugal for a while. Now, I want you to understand this, okay? And hold on, let me put this in. Good. In history, it never happens that a population just disappears like that. It doesn't happen. If you have a big population, let's say over 100,000 people, they don't just disappear. They're either enslaved or there's genocide that happened to them, and those survived, escaped. They don't just disappear out of history. There's one thing I've noticed when I got history class in high school, and also when I looked at documentaries outside of high school. So I used to watch documentaries a lot. I love doing that. They would often treat the Moors as, oh, those people, they governed Spain and Portugal, but eventually the Catholic kings turned on them. They conquered the Emirate of Granada, and then they disappeared from history. Yeah, they fled all over the place. Some were enslaved. Okay, they were enslaved. Some fled. What happened to them? They didn't just disappear. No, they didn't. And there was an almost 10-year war. 10-year war to conquer the Emirate of Granada. Oh, but hold on a minute. Well, let me go over here. In Spanish America, when the Spanish began to colonize the Americas in the 1500s, they established the new Kingdom of Granada. Hold on a minute. If you, as Spanish people, you conquered the Emirate of Granada, you turned it into a Catholic kingdom. Why didn't you change the name of the place into a Catholic name then? Why did you let it keep? Why did it keep its name as it had? And now there's a new colony established called New Granada. That's off. But here's another thing. There has been, hold on, is it over here? Yes. There's been scholarly work done about Moors in Mesoamerica. What's Mesoamerica? Mesoamerica is not a term for Central America. Hold on a minute. Moors in Mesoamerica? I thought the Moors disappeared. Hold on. Hold on. Package is being delivered. So, but anyway, I don't want to be distracted. So understand this. I never heard of this before, but there's been scholarly work done about it. Just to show you, I'm not talking crap over here just to get views. The Moors did not just disappear. They didn't. Now, I'm not going through the whole thesis, all of that, but there's been more scholarly work about it also. Okay, so let me go over here. South Carolina, House of Representatives. I need to have South Carolina. Wait. Even look at this. There's a Moorish influence right over there in the flag of South Carolina. Why is it there? Yeah, it's because it was a great role of the palm tree in the fight against the British. I mean, come on, what the heck is that? Come on now. Look, I've already explained to you, there never was an American Revolution. The British Empire abandoned those 12 colonies because they want to expand into Australia. And they couldn't afford to expand into Australia and maintain those 12 colonies at the same time. So they kept the colony that they called Canada, which became British North America, but those other 12, they abandoned them. Simple as that. So let's get it straight. There were Moors, or you can call them Black Moroccans if you want. There were blacks, Islamic blacks, in the Spanish Empire being active. And they listen, some that were enslaved up to 1492. Others fled, they stayed free. Whether were enslaved or they stayed free. There were Africans from Spain who were Islamic. Now, some Moors were not Islamic. Some that were Christian, others that followed Judaism. But anyway, they came to the Americas. They had an impact in the Spanish Empire. Even some places are still named after them. And there were many of them in the British colonies that became the United States, to such an extent that the Sultan of Morocco was the first one to say, I recognize the United States. All the ships from the United States are free to trade in my country. Why would the Sultan of Morocco, who's all the way in North Africa over there, why would he have any interest in being involved in some British civil war going on in North America? So let's get it straight. You had the Spanish Empire being so dominant over there. And you had the British Empire having the civil war going on in North America. And the head of state of Morocco by then said, I recognize the country. And guess what? Later, you find out there were Moors. I'm going to call them Moors. I'm going to call them Black Moroccans, just Moors. There were Moors. And by the way, you have Moors and Morocco. Moor, Morocco. Even in Morocco, the term Moor is involved. So the reason why the Sultan of Morocco recognized the United States, because there was a financial, economic incentive for him to do so. Because think about it. If the United States would separate from Britain, you would have a new country with a lot of Moors in it, able to trade easier with Morocco. That was the interest of Morocco. And he said the ships from the United States freely come. It means there were ships from the British colonies going to Morocco back and forth. So why not recognize there were Moors in the United States before independence? That they had a role they played in it. And there's finally, this one to explain about political pathologies. Let me explain to you what the political pathology is. Okay, and this applies to why they're hiding the Moors. It doesn't only apply to the Moors, but this thing of hiding the Moors, I was really shocked by how far they've gone with this. Oh, and by the way, they don't even talk about Spanish America. But guess what? Okay, let me go back over here. me type in New Spain. Yes, I begin. So let me continue. Okay. I'm not going to stop now. But where's that map again? I want that map. Yes, finally, here it is. Let me go to, hold on, guys. Let me go to the original form. No. Yes, I want the original file as big as it is. Okay. Let's look at this. Look at how big the Spanish Empire was. Why aren't they talking about Spanish America? All the way to Alaska. And you also had Spanish military camps over here in this place also. So, oh, that was Russian America. No, till 1819, all Alaska and all of this over here was Spanish territory. Nobody talks about it. You have Port Valdez. Valdez is from Puerto Valdez, was the military port of Spain, right over here. Wow. So let me talk about political pathology over here. Let me tell what goes on over here. Oh, and by the way, Artemis Arrow, you mentioned very good things. I haven't highlighted them now because I still need to explain this, but you make some very good points over there. A political pathology, and I want all of you to repeat, write it in the live chat. It's something I want you to remember. I'm an anthropologist and sociologist. You know what I mean? So I don't, when I listen to me, I'm an anthropologist and sociologist. I'm explaining what a political pathology is. A political pathology is when a population refuses to admit the obvious to the extent of becoming delusional. Okay, maybe I need to rephrase this a bit. A political pathology is when a population becomes delusional because it won't admit the obvious. Repeat that in live chat. A political pathology is when a population becomes delusional because they won't admit the obvious. Write it down. If you write a bit differently, that's fine, but write it down, please. Very important. Oh, by the way, when Central America, here, the Kingdom of Guatemala became independent, they even put in the Independence Declaration that blacks would be citizens of the new country. And a big portion of Central America, well, was either black or they were Zambo, mixed with the Native American, with Native Indians. I've been to Guatemala and even admit this history over there, but you never hear about it here in Europe or you hear about it in North America at all. Okay, you guys have repeated it. Okay, that's good. Now, it's one thing to forget about a little portion of history, but come on, how can you forget all of this? This was all Spain. How can you forget all of that? Never talk about it, like it never even existed. They act as if this whole corner of North America was just forest and grass, with some natives wearing feathers in their head, and then you have Europeans coming, building all the cities and civilizing everything. This is what they're teaching people. No. And by the way, one thing I want to explain to you also. About sailing to North America. Maybe I should go to Google Maps or, hold on, let me first do this. Yeah, I think mulatto is the proper term. Okay, yeah, that's correct. When you sail from Europe to go to North America, you either have to go through Iceland and Greenland, follow that wave over there. They arrive in what they call Canada, which is quite cold, and it's risky because of icebergs over there. Or you go down near the shores of West Africa, and then you go towards the west. Or this alternative, you leave from Britain to the Azores Islands, and then go to North America. So anyway, sailing from Europe to North America is not that easy. But sailing from, okay, let me stop sharing for a moment. But sailing from West Africa towards North America is much easier, logistically speaking. Oh, and there's another thing about North America that a lot of people don't realize. North America had migrants from West Africa long before Columbus. Christopher Colon, which we call Columbus, was a liar. Simple as that. This is how it went. Yet the Mongolian Candidate. You heard about Genghis Khan before. I'm not going to talk too much about Genghis Khan. But Mongolian Empire, no. I need to have a good map of it. The Mongolians had this light-skinned fetish with them, and they wanted to whiten Asia. Genghis Khan, which was a king or a khan from Mongolia, he decided that he is going on the mission to whiten Asia. He did it through genocide and through rape campaigns. He went all the way near Europe, but his successors continued the mission. So the Mongolian Candidate eventually covered most of Asia and big portions of Europe. That means Eastern Europe. I want to find a good map to show it to you. But hold on. Yes, when I talk about history, I'm going to give you receipts. I'm not going to just talk about it you have figured out. I'm going to show you some receipts. Just so give me a moment. I want to give you receipts over here. Okay, this is a proper map over here. Or yes. I want to share the screen again, just one moment. I don't know who made this map. Okay, I can use it as map still, even though there are better ones. Let me check. Okay, there's another one. Okay, my bad. I'm gonna give you receipts, so bear with me. Let me go over here. Share screen. Let me look. Okay. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Because StreamYard is acting weird for a little while. Can you see the screen? Confirm the live chat, please. Artemis Arrow, you're correct. They did some weird policies like that. Yeah, they tend to portray him like that. That's true. Oh, you can all see the screen? Okay, good. Okay, let me show another map also. So one thing I want you to understand here about the Mongolian Empire. The Mongolian Empire was not an actual empire. It was a bunch of warlords who were loyal to the Great Khan in Mongolia. Okay? And each warlord had a jurisdiction they took over. Okay? So you had the Golden Horde to cover Central Asia, going all the way to Eastern Europe over here. You also had the Golden Horde expanding all the way towards Scandinavia, but that expansion not last for very long, but they did expand to there. And one thing to understand about Mongolian Candidate is that they use terrorism as their main modus operandi. Okay, sorry, I'm going to use common plain language. The Mongolian Candidate was satanic to the core. They would kill people, hang their corpses everywhere, and cause diseases, scare people, and all of that. They would trigger diseases through famines, causing famines, or putting corpses everywhere to cause things to rot. So they would use, that was their form of biological warfare that the Mongolian Candidate used. The Mongolian Candidate, they recruited the reprobates of their communities. And today in the military, they want to recruit the best of the men. While the Mongolians back then in around the 1200s, they recruited the worst from their own, because the worst of their own had no conscience. And people without any conscience, without any empathy, they're easier in war because they can kill people, do everything you want for them. For 180 years, the Mongolian Candidate terrorized Asia and Europe. the Muslims fought back a lot. And there were also Europeans fighting back, but the Khanate triggered a lot of diseases everywhere, and that's where you got the plague from. The plague that happened in Asia and Europe was because of Mongolian Candidate. But I don't hear historians making this connection. They say, oh, the plague came because of bad sanitation in Europe. Oh, bad sanitation in Europe because they didn't have proper toilets led to the plague. And that's why you had diseases, people turned to cannibalism, and over 75% of Europeans died. Similar thing happened in Asia. Why not say as it is, as the Mongolian Candidate terrorized Asia and Europe, trying to make everyone, I won't say white, we make everyone light skin or white. Why not say that? Oh, and by the way, Genghis Khan is a hero to many people in Asia today, and for many races today. Many races in Europe, they see Genghis Khan as a hero. So the Khanate is something they don't even talk about in history at all. They barely mention it, even though it was in your face. It triggered what they call the plague. The plague was a series of waves of disease that afflicted Europe and Asia, in which a big portion of the population died. So you mean to tell me a big portion of Europeans got wiped out? The European population completely decimated by diseases triggered by this satanic regime. People barely talk about it. Okay, that's also a pathology. Why not mention this? So the Mongolian Candidate caused the plague, caused many Europeans to die. Some of the European areas even went extinct. And guess what? What was going on? Yet the Knights Templars fighting the Muslims. Why the heck are they fighting the Muslims and not fighting the Khanate that's almost exterminated them because of disease, all of that? And guess what? During the time of the Khanate and all of that, you had, hold on. Let me look this and show you the other map. You have Mensa Musa. Okay, okay, I can just share over here. Share screen. Okay, listen, my live stream may be a bit slow today, but hey, I want to give you receipts, okay? Because I want you able to do your own research too. Hold on. Okay, confirm me. Can you see the screen that I'm sharing? Because StreamYard was acting weird again. Can you see the screen? Let me know. Can you see the screen over here? Okay. Mansa Musa. He was a Malian emperor and a Muslim who invested a big portion of his fortune into Islam. Okay? I want to hear those Arabs, those people specialized in the Arab world talk about this guy, because this guy invested a big portion of his fortune into the Muslims, especially the Arab Muslims. He did. Okay? Was a Malian emperor, and he is considered the richest human being that ever lived on the earth. Okay, and under Mansa Musa, trade with Europe continued. Because remember, you had the Moors governing Spain and Portugal, sometimes also in harmony with the Catholic kings. You also had Moorish households all over Europe. They were wealthy. Now, they were not all wealthy. Look at this twisted, but it was around. So it comes down to this. You had the Mongolian Candidate terrorizing the world with their whitening fetish. That's all I need to call it. And now you also had the Knights Templars claiming to defend Christianity, fighting Muslims instead of fighting the Mongols. And you had all the plagues going on, and yet from West Africa, under Mansa Musa, trade extended into Europe. So Europeans, they got built out by the consequences of the Khanate and the plague and all of that by trade with the Moors and with the Malian Empire. It happened through Portugal. Portugal was the mediator between the two. Shortly after that, when the Mongolian Candidate crashed all of that, suddenly one of the popes said, you can only enslave non-Christians. And 1444, you had this Portuguese prince establishing a slave dungeon in the Ouida Coast, or Yahavida Coast in West Africa. 1492, the Catholic kings turned on the Moors in Spain, enslaved many of them, extended slave trade to the Americas. But the problem is, when they arrived in the Americas, there were already West Africans, or it's called the Moors, in Americas that lived there for generations. So, yeah, what do you do about those people? Okay, you enslave them too. That's what they did. So there are blacks from North America that were there before the slave trade because they migrated under either Mansa Musa or Mansa Musa's father. So there were blacks in North America before the slave trade. They were later enslaved too, both by the Native American, some of the Native American chiefs over there, and by the colonizers, but there were blacks there already. All right? So when you have those groups in the United States saying, we were here before the slave trade, listen, if they say the slave trade never happened, especially the genocide of slave trade, how it became under the Dutch Empire, that means they're delusional. There were no slave ships. Listen, cargo ships were used to transport slaves. Of course, there's no such thing as a slave ship. It's a cargo ship used to transport slaves. And those cargo ships were centuries old. So, of course, they're either demolished or they're in a museum right now, or they've been broken down, or they're sunk. Yes, the transatlantic slave trade happened. It became genocidal under the Dutch Empire from 1602 onwards. 1619, it became genocidal worldwide for blacks. But you had a black population from Africa in North America that were classified as Indians by the Spanish because they were already there for a while. Put my face on again. So yes, you have Maroons and Creoles. Let me explain to you the difference. A Maroon, this happens when you wear an afro, but anyway, a Maroon is a black individual or a mixed black individual who is descendants of the blacks that were already there in North America before the slave trade. A Creole is a black descendant from some people that are supported by the slave trade. So you have Maroons and Creoles. Now, the Maroon population in North South America, they're still around, but a lot of them are not accounted in the statistics. For example, in the Republic of Suriname, Suriname was a Dutch colony. In Suriname, you have many Maroons living there, and the government doesn't even know how many there are. The same in North America. And the thing is, just like Artemis is saying over here, the Spanish, when they came, remember, Spain as one country did not exist. Okay? Spain was where two unions operate together. So when it came to North America, they began to include the natives in their union. That's what they did. That's why they established the Kingdom of Mexico, Kingdom of Yucatan, Kingdom of Guatemala, Kingdom of Nueva Galicia, and Kingdom of New Granada. That's how they did it. Kingdom of Quito, which later became Ecuador. So, and also, they were not allowed to enslave the natives because the Pope said so. That's another thing. What I want to explain to you is that a political pathology is when the public refuses to admit the obvious. So they go so far in escapism that it will accept a fairy tale as reality. Look, if a Chinese man would come and say to me, Rashid, Chinese people are the original people of the Netherlands. We've been in the Netherlands for thousands of years. I wouldn't even listen to that guy. Anyone would call me crazy saying you need to go to a mental asylum. Even Chinese people say, stop saying that shit, you make us look bad. You know what I mean? That would be a big delusion. But the delusion that's promoted right now is that the Americas was terra nullius, empty land that was discovered by Europeans, and yet there were a few natives there were underdeveloped and they civilized everything. Even though there were cities there, pyramids, there were civilizations, there were kingdoms, empires, all that in the Americas before Columbus arrived. What happened to many of those cities that were built by the natives and the Moors from Africa? The Moors and the Malians who came over and settled before Columbus, what happened to their cities and the things they built? I'm glad you're asking. In 1825, I believe was under President Thomas Jefferson, if I'm correct. Under one US president, they made a legislation to confiscate millions of acres of land from the natives. And what they did was they would go to the native areas, they would chase the natives away, or they would genocide them. They will burn down what they've established, and they will build a European model of a town above it. That's why in the United States, sometimes when the road breaks down or cracks open, you see there's not a layer of roads down there. It's because they committed arson on the native and black towns, burned them down, threw mud over them, and let grass grow and establish national parks. Or they burned things down, and once it's burned down, they built streets above them, built another thing, and gave it a European name. So they burned to the ground native towns, built on top of them, and gave a European name to say, we established this place. That's what they've done with many places in the United States. So understand this. The United States of America is one big Truman Show. And why is the United States of America kept in place? It's because you have this worldwide fetish with whiteness. And this fetish has nothing to do with Europeans themselves. It has to do with worldwide. They have this escapism with, if you're associated with whiteness, you're better off. This delusion in the public is what they lead or relying upon. And they're feeding this delusion. That's why they enable this political pathology in the public. I mean, last time, and it was like a few months ago, I believe, there was this guy from Egypt who sued Netflix because they portrayed Cleopatra as a black woman. Now, and there was a whole movement arising in Egypt saying, no, Cleopatra was not black, Egypt wasn't black. Now listen, Aegyptos was a Greek term given to Kemet. Kemet is how the Egyptians named their area. Ancient Egypt was not united. Sometimes you had 2 or 3 pharaohs at the same time competing with one another. Okay? Egypt was not always united. And there were times the Ethiopians intervened and became pharaohs in Egypt too. Egypt has 3, or you can say 3 phases. You have the Kemet, that was, we say, dark Egypt. Kemet even means dark. Then you had the Greek Egypt. That was when the Greeks took over, which lost in the Roman Empire. And then you had Arab Egypt, which we have till this day, when the Muslims took over from Arabia. Arab Egypt lost till this day. So that's why a lot of people in Egypt are Arab, of Arab ancestry. Because many of the official population was driven down to what they call Sudan. But that means that in ancient times, during the pharaohs, there was no Arabness back then. There were Arabs were around, but were not dominant in ancient Egypt. And when the Greeks took over, the Ptolemean dynasty that ran Egypt, there was the Greeks that ran Egypt, they were white, but they mixed also with some of the population. So how can you say, oh, we know for certain Cleopatra didn't look black? Oh, a whole hysteria involved. Why is they even suing Netflix? This weird court case. It's because the people there have lost their damn minds. They're so obsessed with this whiteness thing that was established by the Jesuits. Now, white supremacy as a symbolic thing already came from the ancient Greeks. But to make it an everyday reality that determines your value, it was done by the Jesuits through the Dutch Empire. Simple as that. I want to explain all this to you. A political pathology is when the public insists on a fairy tale, even though the obvious facts in their face. So what do when you notice a political pathology? You don't argue with the people. You do not, my good, you do not fight with them. Let them be in their delusion. Just realize these people have lost their minds, and if they have to face the fact at some point, they're going to lose it. You know what I mean? So, understand the following. The political pathology of white supremacy is crashing right now. And it's not the elite that are clinging. It's the public clinging onto it. It's the public losing their mind. So please don't get involved in these useless debates. If people won't admit the actual history and process it, well, that's on them. Okay, you focus on serving the Heavenly Father, doing the will of Christ. Because listen, whether you're Judean or Gentile, we both need Christ, and Christ is supreme. Judeans are supreme, neither Gentiles supreme. It's Christ who is supreme. Okay, He is Lord. Okay, that the Heavenly Father uses Judah as in the lead. That is His strategy for the human species. Okay, but it doesn't mean a Judean has more human value than someone that's a Gentile. All right. The whole idea that your ethnicity determines your value is something the Catholic Church came up with and the masses hold on to. Judah first, salvation from the Judeans is a strategy from the Heavenly Father to benefit all of us. That's all it is. So, yes, I wear this thing called a fez. Okay, some of the Moors often wore, and I decided, let me just wear it now. It looks fun. Unfortunately, it doesn't stick onto my head much because I have a big afro. So, but anyway, I'm not going to cut my hair, so it has to be like that. Look, you can't hide the impact of the Moors anymore. It's not going to happen. You can't succeed in that. But understand, the more the history of the Moors and the Spanish Empire become obvious, the more hysteria you'll see in the public. I just want you to be cautious of that. It's going to happen. Just stay calm, agree with Christ, pray for your environment, and just keep on going. Yes, it wore the turban thing too. I forgot how to call the turban thing. I forgot how to call it, but yes. No, I'm not part of some political movement. I'm not. Because I'm not into politics. Because I know the political solution don't exist. I'm not here to fight Europeans. I'm not, because many of my subscribers are Europeans and they're believers. Whiteness has nothing to do with Europeans or quote unquote white people. Whiteness is a political delusion that the public clings onto and the elite take advantage of it. Okay, that's all it is. By the way, when the Moors were governing Spain and Portugal, when the Malians were dominant and they traveled to Europe back and forth doing trade, did they decide to wipe out Europeans, take Europe for themselves? No, they didn't. Now, but Rashid, remember, there was this big thing going on with white girls being deported to North Africa in brothels. Yes, it happened. There was a big trade in white girls to the Islamic world. It happened. Yes, it happened a lot. It even happened in the British colonies. They get pirates from North Africa going kidnapping white girls over there because it was a big fetish of a white woman to have babies with in the Arab world. It was a big fetish. That happened, I admit it. But what I'm saying is, you also have this thing called, how do you call it in English again? In German, it's called Umvolking. Umvolking in Dutch, it simply means they want to replace the European population with colored people. Or they call it white genocide. Where in history did this ever happen? It never happened. But you have racists today saying, "Oh, they want to wipe out white people and all of that." Show me the political declaration of any country decided we're going to destroy whiteness, destroy white people. Show me that political declaration. Show me a political plan and a military action in place right now to exterminate Europeans. It doesn't exist. So you have these races come in, hey, we're about to be exterminated and all that. No, you're not. So you have one political pathology that now protect another pathology saying Europeans are about to be exterminated. Nobody's exterminating any of them. Okay? And I'm not promoting that because I'm, of course, not. So just understand, I want you all to be free from political pathologies. So you're not wasting your time and life being drained by political pathologies. All right? Hold on one moment. Yeah. No, Artemis Arrow, I just want to clarify to everyone that I'm not into political movement. Something, or she's wearing the fez, so he became part of the political movement. No, I'm not. Or she's part of a militia trying to overthrow the government. No, I'm not. Man, these governments are destroying themselves anyway, so why would I do anything about it? I wouldn't. I just want believers to prosper. Judeans and Gentiles both have to prosper. to glorify Christ. It's not only Judeans, it's Judeans and Gentiles. All right? I minister to both Judeans and Gentiles. Well, I'm an Afro-Latino myself from Latin America. My grandfather was a mulatto from Venezuela. His wife was from Haiti, so I have Asian ancestry, was a black woman from Haiti also. And the rest of my ancestry is West Africa and the Caribbean. So, listen, I'm Hispanic myself. I did Latin American studies, got a master's degree in it. I've been to Guatemala also past May to attend some conference. I was invited by the government of Guatemala to come, so I went. It was interesting 2 days. So, as Hispanic, I'm saying, listen, there's no conspiracy on Hispanics to wipe out Europeans anywhere, anything like that. This is just a political hysteria that goes on right now on the internet. And there are a lot of documentaries trying to suggest this, and I'm telling you, it's not happening. Okay? It never happened in history. And never will happen either. What we need to do is we need to be focused on doing the will of Heavenly Father, honoring God's guidelines. If Jesus says salvation from Judeans and God's using Judeans first, let Judeans be used first because it will benefit all of us. All right? That's good. Whoa, it's less than an hour. I did all this in less than an hour? Oh, okay, that's good. Anyway, let me see. So please be motivated by this video, okay? This live stream, I mean. Judah is God's responsibility. The Heavenly Father decided to select the tribe of Judah from all the Israelites and make them dominant throughout history. That's God's doing to glorify himself. Jesus was a Judean also. The disciples were Judeans. That's God's plan. But it doesn't mean if you're not a Judean, you're a Gentile, whether you are Chinese or Arab or European, whatever, that you have less value than a Judean. No. Judah first is God's policy to benefit all of mankind. Okay? It's not a racial thing because there's no such thing as race anyway. There's one human species. So be motivated, give agreement to Christ, and I want to see you next live stream. Yes, I'm going to check them out at Miss Arrow. Anyway, see you next live stream. Shalom, and remember, Jesus is supreme. He's the only Judean that's supreme. Everyone else, we're all supposed to serve him. See you next time.